When using SER, that is service entrance cable number 1 aluminum to feed a subpanel and connector clamps are used at both ends with concentric knockouts, so bonding bushing is typically not required. The primary reason for this is that the connector clamps themselves are designed to provide a secure and bonded connection between the SER cable and the subpanel enclosure. This inherent bonding capability eliminates the need for an additional separate bonding bushing. Let's delve deeper into the purpose of bonding bushings and how connector clamps fulfill this role. Firstly, it's crucial to understand the function of a bonding bushing. A bonding bushing is a specialized fitting used in electrical installations to ensure electrical continuity between metallic components, particularly when dealing with conduit systems or enclosures. Its main purpose is to provide a low impedance path for fault current to return to the source, thereby facilitating the operation of overcurrent protection devices like circuit breakers or fuses in the event of a ground fault. Without proper bonding, fault current may find unintended paths through equipment, grounding conductors, or other metallic parts, leading to elevated voltage potentials and posing a shock hazard. Secondly, connector clamps, on the other hand, are designed to secure the SER cable to the enclosure, ensuring that the cable is mechanically protected and properly connected. These clamps are typically made of metal and are designed to make direct contact with the metallic armor or grounding conductor of the SER cable, as well as the metallic enclosure of the subpanel. This direct contact creates a conductive pathway that serves the same purpose as a bonding bushing, allowing fault current to flow back to the source in a controlled manner. Now, let's consider the specific scenario presented. When using SER cable, which contains an insulated neutral conductor and a bare equipment grounding conductor, the grounding conductor is typically connected to the metal enclosure of the subpanel using the connector clamp. Because the connector clamp is in direct contact with both the cable's grounding conductor and the subpanel enclosure, it effectively bonds the two together. This bond ensures that any fault current flowing through the grounding conductor will have a low impedance path back to the source. In addition, the concentric knockouts, or COs, mentioned in the scenario refer to the circular openings in the subpanel enclosure that are designed to accommodate different sizes of conduits or connectors. When installing the SER cable connector through these knockouts, it's important to ensure that the connector makes good electrical contact with the metal of the enclosure. This is typically achieved by tightening the connector securely and ensuring that any paint or other non-conductive coatings are removed from the contact surfaces. The NEC, that is the National Electrical Code, provides guidance on bonding and grounding requirements for electrical systems. While the specific requirements may vary depending on the installation, the general principle is that all metallic components that are likely to become energized during a fault must be bonded together to create a low impedance path for fault current. Section 250.92 B provides information on methods for bonding other enclosures. It states that other enclosures shall be bonded utilizing any of the methods specified in 250.92. B1 through 250.92. B4. These methods include but are not limited to using a bonding jumper, listed grounding and bonding lock nuts, or other listed devices. However, these requirements are more pertinent to conduit systems or situations where there is not a direct metallic connection between the cable grounding conductor and the enclosure. In the case of SER cable with connector clamps, the direct metallic connection provided by the clamps often satisfies the bonding requirements without the need for additional bonding bushings. It's crucial to verify the specific requirements of the local electrical code and the manufacturer's instructions for the connector clamps to ensure compliance. Some jurisdictions may have specific interpretations or requirements that differ from the general guidelines in the NEC. Additionally, the manufacturer of the connector clamps may specify whether the product is suitable for bonding purposes and whether any additional bonding measures are necessary. To summarize the key points, firstly, connector clamps designed for use with SER cable typically provide a secure and bonded connection between the cable's grounding conductor and the subpanel enclosure. Secondly, this direct metallic connection often eliminates the need for a separate bonding bushing. Thirdly, the NEC generally requires that all metallic components that are likely to become energized during a fault be bonded together. Fourthly, It is always important to consult the local electrical code and the connector clamp manufacturer's instructions to ensure compliance with all applicable requirements. Now let's consider some potential scenarios where bonding bushing might still be considered, even when using SER cable and connector clamps. One such scenario is when dealing with oversized knockouts or enclosures with multiple sections. If the knockout is significantly larger than the connector, there may be a gap between the connector and the enclosure, which could compromise the electrical connection. In this case, a bonding bushing could be used to bridge the gap and ensure a reliable bond. Another scenario is when dealing with enclosures that are made up of multiple sections that are bolted or screwed together. In these cases, it's important to ensure that the sections are properly bonded together to maintain electrical continuity throughout the enclosure. A bonding bushing could be used to bond the sections together, providing a low impedance path for fault current. Furthermore, in certain industrial or commercial applications, there may be specific requirements for additional bonding measures to enhance the reliability and safety of the electrical system. These requirements may be driven by the nature of the equipment being used or the operating environment. For example, in areas with high levels of electromagnetic interference, additional bonding may be necessary to minimize the effects of noise and interference on sensitive electronic equipment. In these cases, a qualified electrical engineer should be consulted to determine the appropriate bonding measures. Let's explore some practical considerations for installing SER cable and connector clamps. Firstly, when selecting connector clamps, it's important to choose a size and type that are specifically designed for use with the SER cable being used. The connector should be properly sized to accommodate the cable's diameter and should be made of a compatible material. Secondly, before installing the connector, the cable should be properly prepared by removing any outer jacket or insulation that may interfere with the connection. The grounding conductor should be exposed and ready to make contact with the connector. Thirdly, when installing the connector, it's important to tighten it securely to ensure a good electrical connection. The manufacturer's instructions should be followed to determine the appropriate tightening torque. Fourthly, after the connector is installed, it's a good practice to visually inspect the connection to ensure that it is secure and that there are no loose wires or other potential problems. Additionally, the connection can be tested using a multimeter to verify that there is a low resistance path between the cable's grounding conductor and the enclosure. The resistance should be as close to 0 ohms as possible. Finally, it's important to remember that electrical work can be dangerous, and it should only be performed by qualified and experienced individuals. Always follow all applicable safety precautions, including disconnecting power before working on electrical circuits and using appropriate personal protective equipment. In summary, while connector clamps typically provide adequate bonding for SER cable installations, there may be certain situations where additional bonding measures, such as bonding bushings, are necessary. These situations include oversized knockouts, enclosures with multiple sections, and applications with specific requirements for enhanced reliability and safety. Always consult the local electrical code, the connector clamp manufacturer's instructions, and a qualified electrical engineer to ensure compliance with all applicable requirements.